Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great and welcome back to Nomam YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be introducing a wonderful tool called Minesweeper, which is a comprehensive Kubernetes security tool that can help you to secure your clusters. Before we deep dive into the demo of Minesweeper, let's try to understand what is Kubernetes security, why it is important, and what are the popular tools which are available in the market, and what is the need of Minesweeper and what exactly it will do, right? So let's first understand what is Kubernetes security. So whenever a new tool is coming to the market with lots of innovation and lots of features, the common worry about picking up that tool is the security. How secure it is, that is the question will arise everywhere. Similarly, Kubernetes came up the market as a storm, and with its capabilities every organization, whether it is small or large or enterprise, everybody started utilizing its capabilities. It is very obvious, right? So once the organization started adopting Kubernetes, the potential cyber threats of the infra and workloads which are related to Kubernetes also went up very rapidly. The common security issues every organizations are started looking is access control and privilege escalation, DDoS attacks and container escape attacks. The list goes very long. If you are a developer or a DevOps engineer, any SRE, anyone using the cloud or container ecosystem, you need to focus on these following four C's of container security before implementing anything new, right? So first thing will be code. How you are writing the code and what you are writing is very much important. That is where the beginning point, right? So next comes the container. How you are packaging the code. Obviously container is nothing but packaging of your code which is written. So how you are packaging your code in form of container, that is also crucial. And top of it, how you are deploying these containers in the cluster. So there will be some standard practices like which you are following that, and how you are managing all these containers and how you are deploying them is also matters a lot. On top of it, we have cloud, whether it is AWS, Azure, GCP or on-prem, any sort of deployment where you are deploying your application. How about that infra? How secure is that infrastructure which you are using? So these four things you have to be very much sure that everything is secure before you implement and deploy any application in this environment. With that, we have talked about need of Kubernetes security and the mandatory security checks, for building any solution. Now let us see what are the popular tools in the Kubernetes ecosystem. So the list goes like this: Gatekeeper, KubeSec, Kube-Hunter, Kube-bench, Falco, Trivy, and the list goes on. Right? When each and every tool has its own, unique functionality. So for my workload, for one particular functionality, one tool will work. For other project, other functionality, another tool will work. So here is the problem, right? Like the tools are increasing very rapidly. Every day, every month, every year, there are lots tools coming in. Only for CNCF, there are hundreds of tools coming every year. For incubation, for graduation, lot of projects are coming in. So which tool I need to use, right? That is the question. And if you are using multiple tools, how to manage those tools, right? And once you are started utilizing some tools, installation is a hectic process. It's not, no, every tool installation is not that easy. So how to install these many tools, how to manage all those tools, and finally how can I monitor all these tools performance within my cluster, and as it perfectly aligned with my cluster, all the configuration is working properly. So how to check all these things, right? If you have come across all these questions, you might have already guessed it. That is where Minesweeper took up an initiative, and guess what? It is providing a centralized security configuration managing tool. So it is combining all these tools which we have discussed, whether it is Gatekeeper, KubeSec, Kube-Hunter, Kube-bench, Falco and Trivy. Minesweeper will just like that, it is integrated with all these tools, and it is built to collect, process, display the security reports and assessments which are generated by all these tools which I have mentioned in a very user friendly and accessible format. And if you look about other features, right, one of the standout features which Minesweeper is using is, like I already mentioned, its intuitive user interface. Anyone who is a beginner, who is novice to Kubernetes ecosystem also can log in and try to understand what is happening related to Kubernetes security. It is that easy. Unlike many other Kubernetes security tools which are available, right, Minesweeper doesn't require a steep learning curve or a deep understanding of Kubernetes architecture. Minesweeper's centralized nature, which is built on top of it, it has another feature which sets it apart is integrating all these popular tools, which means once the user can receive any security related information, everything at one place, which will save the team time and effort, right? So you need to go any multiple places to check multiple logs and what is happening in our cluster, those things, right? You can monitor multiple Kubernetes security tools, multiple Kubernetes clusters, everything at one place. That gives team peace of mind that their clusters are secure and protected against all the potential threats. With that, now we have understood what is Kubernetes security and popular tools, and mainly what exactly the Minesweeper and what is it capable of, right? Now pay a little bit extra attention and see how these tools work and integrated in the Minesweeper platform. Let's see them in action, right? So for that you need to have a Minesweeper setup ready. For now, to show this demo, I have already set it up one Minesweeper environment. If you want to try this, I have a setup document, and also guess what, very soon I'll share a video of the Minesweeper installation, and if you want to try by your own, I also attach a lab guide to set up Minesweeper with the link of this description, video description. Okay, yes. So with that, now I'll log into Minesweeper and I'll show you all this, whatever we have discussed, we'll see them in action. So now I have logged into my Minesweeper. So if you see, when you log in, you will get this kind of screen. So it will show you complaint summary, scan history and historical vulnerable report is summary as well. Okay, and here you can find Minesweeper dev cluster. So this is the thing, it will fetch all your cluster related information, and it but default cluster configuration it will fetch and it will start analyzing that. So once I click on that, so I'll get all these options which we are talked about. Summary is each and it will show you what each and everything what is happening within your cluster in form of logs and everything. And when you go to cluster info, there you will get all the cube config file of your cluster related thing you will get. And if you go to images, right, so what are the images that are in our cluster, so those things you will get here. And if you go to workloads, you will get namespaces primarily, and in every space what are the different pods which are running, and those things we can see. If I click on Falco namespace, I can see what are the pods which are running in Falco. So these are the generic options that Minesweeper is giving, and more than any of this, right? So let's try to understand Gatekeeper. So Gatekeeper is a mechanism. So whenever any activity is coming into your cluster, for example, if you are trying to create one simple part, then you can impose some rules on that creation. For example, if you see here, the name of the constraint is k's required labels. What it means is, whenever you are trying to create a pod in a cluster, it has to be with some labels. If you are trying to create a pod without any label, obviously the deployment will fail. If we click on this, so it is again explaining the same, require and match the owner label. So if I click on this, so if it is not creating and it is failing, it will trigger an alert in a violation. So if I go on violations, okay, this is the thing you will get, you must provide labels. So that is how Gatekeeper works in Minesweeper. Similarly, if you go to KubeSec is kind of rule book. So whenever you created a pod, or once creating a pod and you want to check how secure my YAML is, or if you have already a pod which is running in, so what are the security threats it is having. So KubeSec will compare all these rules and it will provide a score for that particular configuration. If the score is too low, obviously the deployment will fail. So if you want to check reports for any of the running pod, I'll go to choose pod from your cluster, and if you have YAML file with you, then you can upload your file by clicking here. So for now I am selecting choose pods from your cluster, and I'll select namespace. So for now I'll go to Minesweeper dev namespace. Here I'll select a pods. So I'll take first one dash pod, and I'll say run KubeSec. So it will run through all this KubeSec process. If you want, you can download the report by clicking here, and it is giving you the score for that. So what are the standard recommendations that system is giving, or like I said, the rule book and how it is following, right? So if the value is very much low, like 1 or 2, and the minimum score is somewhat 5, then obviously, so it is less than the expected score, so it will stop the deployment to be happen. So this is it. So now I'll go back and I'll go to Kube-Hunter. A Kube-Hunter is will use for penetration testing within our cluster. So what it will do, it will launch, it will stay within the cluster, and it will launch some attacks and configuration checks to our cluster, and if something is misconfigured or some sort of errors are coming, it will generate reports and show us. So if I click on this latest report, so if you see, So it is giving the vulnerability which is in where it is, whether it is in a node or pod, and what is the severity, whether it is low or high, and what kind of vulnerability it is, and the description of vulnerabilities. And if you want to know about more about that particular vulnerability, the guide related to that also it is providing. So if you want to understand what this vulnerability means, you can click on this link and go there and study and understand, and later you can fix that vulnerability, right? So that much easy to deal with. So next comes the Kube-bench. So previously we talked about the rule book in terms of KubeSec, right? KubeSec is the rule book which is dedicated, and defined by you, and it will work in your environment. Whereas Kube-bench, it will follow CAS benchmarks and NIST. Those are the organizations which are running Kubernetes standards. So it will check each and every deployment is in line with the standard configurations or benchmarks, we will say. So that CAS benchmarks, everything it is following or not. So if I click on any recent deployment, you can see, so this is the test and the description, like what it is testing, and it is pass or fail, that result it is giving. So here the expectation is like the permission has to be 644. Instead, if we set permission to 700 or 777, obviously it will fail and it will trigger an alert like, hey, you need to go back and check your configuration here, did something that is not recommendable. So all sort of information, everything is in your fingertips, right? So then comes the Falco. Will also call as project Falco, right? So what project Falco will do, it will behave some sort of detective in our cluster environment, right? See, this is what I am talking about. So you can check the priorities like this, notice, error, things like that. If you kept notice, it will literally monitor each and everything, who is logged in and what is happening everywhere, and what are the things. It will go to each and every namespace, each and every pod, and it will monitor each and everything, and it will put you there if you want to verify. So what is happening in this notice at monitoring system, something related to Prometheus. So these are the events which are happening here, right? So it will go back and check, okay, this is the things are happening, right? And also there is a filter option also, if you want to search by date or by namespace, by giving the name. For example, in our cluster, I might be having one nginx image at least, or one nginx pod. So what I can do, I'll search by giving this name, and I'll check search. If you see, so the nginx ingress is running, so it is filter out from the entire cluster, and it is giving me everything related to nginx. So it is capable of much more. And like I said, like if you want to, for any of those reports, right, what you are seeing, if you want to make a download of that report, and if you want to go back and sit with your team and analyzing that reports, what is happening with those things and all, so you can click on this download and you can get that report. And yes, you can go back and you can sit in the drawing room and again have a proper understanding on what is happening and what needs to be done. So my internet connection is slow, so it took some time to load, so that is fine. So now we'll go back to the last section, now one of the interesting and wonderful part. So reports. So when you go to any of this report, right, it will give you detailed insights on what is happening. And if I click on this vulnerability report, So here it will use the Trivy for scanning your entire infra of the Kubernetes, like each and every component in our cluster it will scan using Trivy. And one wonderful part here is like not only just scan, it will give you the CVE. So if something so if you see the first one which is related to some RabbitMQ deployment, so that image it scanned and it is telling to make a note of this CVE. So this is the vulnerability ID, and if something issues happening and all, and you can observe that by here severity, whether it is major, critical. So something of that sort, you can, based on the severity, you can take up this and you can read and work on this particular CV. How can I fix that in my system? So those things we can do. And again, if you want to filter here, you can filter by selecting namespace. And also, for example, if I click on Falco and if I search, right, it will give you everything in Falco namespace. So like that you can filter and get all the reports. And there so vulnerability visualization. So if you want to see all the vulnerabilities in form of these charts and all, so that also you can get. Yeah, there are endless features which are coming in to this particular system, and it is growing very rapidly. Like whenever I attend any meetups or conference, like I've been hearing from the people about Minesweeper, which is a very perfect thing, right? So with that we'll go back to the presentation. And I just wanted to thank the team who designed this Minesweeper, right? So these two are the people behind this particular whole project of Minesweeper, Mr. Jacob and Mr. Jason. So they both are the co-founders and SREs of both Minesweeper and an organization called Intellitive. And if you want to connect with them, I'll provide their LinkedIn profile details in the description of this video. And most importantly, like whatever we have seen, right, so these are the references that again I'll post them in this video description. You can find them and you can go ahead. One thing to mention, it's a open source project. So anybody who wanted to contribute and willing to explore more, you can raise a PR and you can reach out to the team by doing that, right? So like I mentioned, so there is a lab manual if you want to set up Minesweeper in your machine, so that you can get it from this link. Like I mentioned, if you want, very soon we are making a video on the installation as well, so you can follow that video. Or if meanwhile if you wanted to try by yourself, so you can take this link and do it. So each and every tool which we have talked about, and it's just one click installation. You'll be surprised to see and how we saw those demo. Each and every tool is perfectly integrated, right? So like that, the installation also that much easy. And with that, I wanted to thank you. And before that, I just wanted to summarize, right? Minesweeper is a very valuable tool for anyone who wants to improve the security for their Kubernetes infrastructure. It's simple UI that we saw in our demo, and a centralized approach to make it easy to use, while its ability to monitor multiple security tools and fetching the reports wonderfully and giving them, analyzing them in form of charts and everything, right? If you are looking for a tool that can help you to secure your Kubernetes cluster, give Minesweeper a try. You'll definitely like it. I'm damn sure about it. Okay, with that, thanks for watching this. I'm sure you are having a wonderful learning experience, and we'll see you in the next. Thank you.